Shemai, I'm Hannah,
And I'm Charlotte.
and welcome to the Purple Sector.
So, welcome back, everybody. Long time no see, but we will be back better than ever. And yeah, so welcome back. Hopefully, you will like this video. So, make sure that you do like, comment, and subscribe to us. And yeah, Hannah, take it away.
Well, considering the Austrian Grand Prix just finished, I think there was only one thing that we can talk about, is this championship battle. Is Max Verstappen going to win his first world championship and get the better of Lewis Hamilton? So Charlotte, heading into the beginning of the season, what were your kind of initial thoughts? Did you think Red Bull and Verstappen were going to be as competitive as they are?
Well, obviously, we saw them win at Abu Dhabi last race of the season, and I thought, you know what, okay, like Merc already won it. There you go. You can win the last race. It's fine. Merc's done it. And then obviously over the winter, I thought, it's Mercedes. It'll be fine. And then I think we saw it testing just how much Red Bull were that bit better than Mercedes. And you always think, oh, it's only testing. Mercedes are sandbagging. But then at Bahrain, you really did see that maybe they wasn't sandbagging and maybe this is just their car for this year. So I obviously thought that Mercedes were going to come in with Lewis and absolutely smash it, but it's not working out quite like that.
No, I think I had a similar thought heading into the season, especially given that they've pretty much continued on the 2020 car. I thought it's going to be another year of Mercedes dominance. I think Red Bull would have been more competitive. I think it definitely would have been Verstappen getting the best of Bottas because, well, reasons. But I just did not expect Red Bull to be out like the clappers that they were. And I think they were unlucky to not win that first race. I think had Verstappen won it, well, it'd be interesting to see how the season would go. But I think it just showed for me that Red Bull maybe recognised that this was the best opportunity, that they've got to take a championship. We obviously don't know what's going to happen with the 2022 regulations. With Honda leaving, Red Bull are heading into uncharted territory for them. And I think they knew that Mercedes' kind of eye was going to be cast towards the 2022 regulation changes rather than the 2021 season. And ultimately, they caught them out. And Verstappen is just, I think he's become world championship material. Because I was going to ask, with Verstappen's early years in Formula One, did you maybe expect him to be a world championship contender, or was it kind of that thing of he was an incredibly talented driver but maybe lacked the maturity?
I think obviously everyone kind of expects him to have that world championship like calibre because he is such a good driver, and from the get-go, 18, however old he was, 18, 17 years old, winning like your first proper like that just goes to show that he does have it in him. And obviously he's not my favourite driver, but you can recognise the talent. Like you'll be so silly to say he's not talented because he really is. So I think now Red Bull have properly given him this opportunity to show what he's made of. And I think this is where I'm like in two minds, because I'm like, Red Bull have clearly maximise the development for this 2021 car, because obviously 2022 we don't actually know what's going to happen, like you said. And I'm thinking, okay, brilliant, because they know that this is the championship that they need to win. Like they need to stop the dominance of Mercedes. And I'm thinking, brilliant, they've literally come out, they're smashing it. But I'm thinking, have they developed and are focusing on 2021 too much? And if they do win this year, are they still going to have this like fight in them? Not fight. Are they still going to be this good in the 2022 season with the new regs? I feel like, have they split their focus? Are they still focusing on 2022 as well, or are they fully focusing on 2021? Because I know Mercedes are focusing on more majority on 2022, so that's where I feel like Red Bull have literally gone to Max, go on, just smash it this year and then we can see what happens. Because I'm not being funny, Max is smashing it and Perez ain't doing that bad either. So like Red Bull really have like stepped up their game this season.
Completely. I think it's interesting how kind of the psychological aspect plays into kind of all of F1. I have to admit, I'm kind of biased. I've been a big fan of Red Bull for years, and I think it's been interesting to see how the team's kind of rebuilt itself. And I think Verstappen has learned maybe many ways from Lewis Hamilton, and obviously from Michael Schumacher before him, was if you want to be a world champion, you can't just be the quickest, you can't just be the most talented guy out there, you have to be the smartest ultimately. And I think he's been able to build that team around him. Like, look, Daniel Ricciardo left because he wasn't getting the similar treatment of Verstappen was. I think you've had obviously Pierre Gasly go, and Albon come in and Perez come in, and now you've got Max as the supreme leader of Red Bull. I think you can't undersell or understate how important he has been to build that team up, and he just seems like a completely new driver. He's still as ruthless, as edgy as he ever was, and willing to kind of put on those dynamic performances. But he hasn't, I think, an emotional intelligence and maturity. He doesn't seem as angry as he used to be. I think he used to get frequently quite frustrated, whereas now you just see this kind of calm, composed driver, even when things haven't gone his way and he's had bad races this season, or even like after Azerbaijan, obviously he was disappointed, but I'd have full on expected him to go off on one. Who knows, we might see something on Drive to Survive that I didn't know had happened. But it just proves how instrumental Max has been, and I think you're definitely right with those regulation changes. Red Bull are in that curious position. I think they're quite lucky, and they've got Adrian Newey, the god of aerodynamics. He's very much in the past couple of years taken and kind of backseat role, was focused more on developing the car rather than being at all the race weekends and things like that. And so it does kind of play into their hands that they've got that level of experience and knowledge there, and they've been poaching a few players from the likes of Mercedes for their engine development. But I think Mercedes maybe underestimated how much Red Bull would be willing to put into it, because I think Red Bull have gone ahead is they know that they needed to win a world championship to keep Max Verstappen. If 2022 doesn't work out, as long as he's won 2021, I think he can live with it. But if they couldn't be a championship contender this year, when arguably Mercedes would probably be at the most vulnerable, then who knows, we might have had a situation where Verstappen ended up jumping ship.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because obviously Verstappen is this upcoming amazing driver. He wants to obviously be on the best team that he can, and if Red Bull can't give him that, it's a bit like, okay, well, where else do I go? Because obviously right now, like even last season it was Mercedes and Red Bull. Ferrari were nowhere last season, so there was no point even looking at Ferrari. And then the next closest one is McLaren, and it's like, why would he go from Red Bull to McLaren? Like, he needs to be in a team that are gonna be winning all the time. And I know we say this now, even though Lando's just got another podium, so McLaren are fighting up there. Like, we have just seen them fighting. So I mean, who actually knows? But that's a whole different topic. But yeah, and I just think it's really interesting, because obviously at the start of the season it's all gonna be like nice between the two teams, because Lewis respects Max and Max clearly respects Lewis. I mean, I don't think there's anything that we've seen where there's no respect there, because there is. And it's just behind the scenes that is like getting to me now. It's like Christian versus Toto, and I'm like, we all know that Red Bull are the ones that would argue anything, and like we've seen in Drive to Survive when it's like Toto saying, we just focus on ourselves. But now I'm like, okay, Toto's actually taken a leaf out of Red Bull's book here, and they are arguing back and forth, so that's really interesting to see. But I don't think that that's coming into the drivers at the moment. Obviously it's still, we've got 23 races this season, it's still very early to determine whether we think that the drivers are getting at each other in their heads a bit or not, because I think Sky have this like storyline that they're trying to push out, that there's mind games going on with both drivers, and I'm just like, I haven't really seen that, so okay, but if you think that, so yeah, I think it's really interesting to see, because obviously Max is only 23 years old. He's going to be in this sport for a very long time, and if he keeps performing how he's performing, who knows, he could be matching Lewis and breaking them sort of records. So yeah, I think it's been really interesting to see, but Red Bull need to win to hang on to him, I think.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the curious thing, is obviously irony after we've recorded this is Lewis Hamilton's obviously signed a 2-year extension, but previously we didn't know whether he was going to stay in the sport. I kind of thought if he won the 8th world title this season, and it was clear that initially at the start I think a lot of people thought that he would win it quite easily, was then, oh, he would retire because he's broken all the records that he probably wants to break, he can go off and do other things. But now seeing that title fight there, and I think that for something as him as a driver is exciting. I remember back a few years ago when Sebastian Vettel, at least for some time with Ferrari, was fighting out for those world championships, and there was that competitiveness there, whereas it's been Mercedes domination for so long. I do wonder for how much of it dulled his enjoyment of the sport, because I just think it dulled it for a lot of fans. We were all eyes on the midfield because that was where the interesting stuff was happening rather than up front, and I think that psychological tit for tat just reminds me of Mean Girls. I'm getting serious, like Regina George, Gretchen Wiener vibes from Toto and Christian, because it's just, I think Lewis and Max have a very solid amount of respect for each other. I think both of them realises they are the Schumachers, their generation, they are the ones that are probably the best drivers on their grid. Lewis, I think, obviously still incredible driver now. I'm not slating Lewis Hamilton saying, oh, he's not of this generation. But it's clear that Lewis at some point is going to retire because he's, what, over 10 years older than Max. They are going to be of different generations, and it's fortunate we've had this crossover given how young Max was when he entered the sport. And I think for them too, there's also not maybe the psychological kind of backstory. I think Lewis and Sebastian had a healthy dose of respect. Yes, sometimes Baku, they have some incidents, but there was always that healthy amount of respect. Whereas I think contrastingly, what happened with Nico Rosberg in 2016, there was such a backstory to what happened that ultimately created the psychological impact that it had on both drivers. And ultimately, Rosberg left the sport after he won that world title, however controversial people think it was that I think because they had such a solid base heading into it, a championship battle can rip things apart. Whereas Max and Lewis aren't going to be best mates, but they both respect each other as rivals and as drivers and as people ultimately. And I think that shows when they've been racing up against each other was they'll give each other that room. They're not going to be like torpedoing through the pack and sometimes running the risk of putting a dirty move on each other. They know that they want to win this championship fair and square, beating the best driver on that grid. And so it's an interesting thing to see. But Toto and Christian, I think they're giving us Netflix Drive to Survive material. Like, I think them two could just be a spin-off on its own because they're just going in. And I think it does frustrate me a little bit that this kind of tit for tat of, oh, the pit stop situation that they've now had to make longer pit stops. Why? Primarily because Red Bull were beating everyone quite comfortably. And then you also had the flexi wing argument and all this and that. And I just think, mate, all I want to see is two drivers fighting it out for the title. You can have your backroom arguments elsewhere. But I think they all amplify the drama. And I think for them, is Christian Horner wants the bragging rights of we've ended Mercedes' period of dominance. And I think he's not going to pass up an opportunity for that. And Toto's thinking, I just want to beat Red Bull to prove a point that even with a, I would say, worse car, because that Mercedes car isn't as good as the Red Bull car, clearly, that they've still come out on top. And so I feel like we're going to be in for a roller coaster of a season, to be honest. Mainly the team principals. I say stick them in the cars, get them to fight it out. Max and Lewis can go off and enjoy themselves because it's them two ultimately that have caused all the drama. And I think
we've just given Sky a new feature to actually update their pre-race show, because I watched the same thing about Lewis 3 times today. So they need some new stuff. So get Max and Christian in a car, drive around the track and then see who wins, and that should settle the argument. But yeah, I think the thing is with, like, obviously the gap is now extending for Max, and it is extending for Max every single race that we've been watching so far this season. But I also think Lewis has fought back from such a massive gap before, and we all know Formula One is so unpredictable that literally anything, all it takes right now is Max to have 2 DNFs and Lewis to get good points, and it will be closer and closer. So I do think that obviously Max is so strong right now, but we can't not look at Lewis, because honestly, like, not being funny, we saw what at Baku, if Lewis hadn't have locked up, this fight would be so close, because Lewis would have, like, got their points. So yeah, I think it's literally going to go down to, like, the last couple of races if Lewis can pull his finger out and nothing else goes, and something goes wrong in the middle of the season.
Yeah, I think it's been an interesting one, kind of Max's career so far. And I think also Lewis, both their seasons have been a bit of a journey. Do you think this triple header, maybe in a couple of months' time when the season's end and we look back over all the races, do you think this triple header is the turning point for Max, or do you think it maybe came sooner, or do you think it hasn't actually happened yet?
I think this like you said, if you look back in like 2 seasons to come, I think this triple header would definitely be the moment that we thought, oh my god, like maybe Merck aren't going to win this, because obviously in Paul Ricard they didn't listen to Valtteri. He clearly needed a 2-stop. He said, I want a 2-stop. They didn't listen. He got taken by Perez. Obviously then Lewis got taken as well, so it's kind of like, I do think this triple header is definitely where we're kind of thinking, and I think everyone like this as well, even Merc fans like me, like, I think we're all kind of thinking, okay, maybe this triple header has shown that Red Bull aren't messing around, and like Max is here and this is what he's going to be like for ages. Like, I know in my group chat it was like, you better get used to hearing the Dutch national anthem alongside the Netherlands national anthem, just like the British and German, like we always hear from Mercedes, because it's going to be like this for a very long time.
See, for me, I think kind of the turning point was maybe Monaco. I think we'd obviously had the quite close battles through Bahrain, through Imola, through Portugal and then Spain. And then Monaco, you get there. And Mercedes, they were in Nice. They weren't even in Monaco. They were, I don't know, in Lille or Paris for all I know, because that car was nowhere near where it should be. And Hamilton was struggling. And I think it maybe showed a few of the weaknesses that Mercedes have. I think this year I've seen more doubt in their strategy from the drivers, seen more doubt in the car than I've previously seen. And Hamilton, not necessarily getting kind of frustrated, I think he very much keeps a cool head a lot of the time, and I've got to praise him for that because I couldn't do it. But like, for example, you mentioned with Bottas previously at Paul Ricard, was getting annoyed because they're not getting the strategy that they think's best, and it maybe highlights a weakness within the team. I don't know what's caused it. I think probably it's circumstantial. You've got Red Bull applying so much pressure. Ultimately, both teams are going to crack at different points, and it's a frustration for them. But for Max, winning Monaco, I think just, he was obviously frustrated he didn't get pole position, but it just proved to him that he had the talent. I think it maybe also reminded people that Verstappen, I don't say Verstappen was here because we all knew he was, he never left, but that this was going to be a race by race championship. It wasn't going to be one driver, I think, breezing away with the title easily. It was going to go down to the nitty gritty, each individual race, and Verstappen proved ultimately that he could keep a calm head and take that victory. And then obviously you head into Baku, Max was going to win. If not for that tyre incident, he would have won. And I think psychologically that would have been, with this race, it would have been 5 victories on the bounce. Red Bull haven't done that in a long time. And I think for him, he knows he's been the best chance Red Bull have had a championship since Sebastian Vettel won it in 2013. And for him, it's just given him a new lease of life as a driver. He is not the same person he was when he joined when he was, 17? And yeah, Max has just had such a big character arc. We've seen him grow from a rash, kind of maybe a bit too geared up driver to now to this mature, confident, knows his ability and knows how to maximise that car. And I think it's something that maybe haunted, say, Pierre Gasly when he was at Red Bull, and Perez now, and even and Alex Albon as well, was they just couldn't get a grasp on that team in the same way Max had, and ultimately it showed with their performances. I also think Max is helped by the fact that he has Perez in that second car, because Perez, when he has a good day, is better than Bottas, clearly. I think Bottas has just got the psychological pressure and kind of worry of George Russell nicking his seat to worry about, and he's just underperformed and hasn't been the championship contender that, even though he's probably a good teammate for Lewis, it's made the championship less exciting. Whereas Max now knows if Perez has a good day, he can better Bottas, he can get ahead of him. And I think this weekend even showed it, the fact that Bottas was second and Max was at one point, I think, 10 seconds ahead. He was in his own race. The TV people barely showed him because they didn't need to. He'd just gone off. And I think Hamilton, it was interesting the fact I thought Mercedes swapped Hamilton and Bottas around. I get why they did it. But ultimately, I do wonder, do you think Mercedes have maybe given up the championship? Because they've said a lot about, oh, they're not bringing as many updates and things like that. Do you think they've maybe underestimated their opponents and are now kind of going, oh, we're not sacking it off, but maybe not taking the fight and the development where it needs to be to put that car where it should be?
Yeah, I think you could probably say they are. I don't think they've, like you said, I don't think they've sacked it off, but I think they have realised that this is going to be a very different championship to win now. And obviously, like you said, I completely I understand why they would have given the order for Bottas to overtake Hamilton, because Hamilton had issues and stuff. And he wasn't going to get up there, and he wasn't going to keep Bottas behind. I don't even think, even if the team didn't say, like, you can swap. So yeah, I just think I don't know. I don't think they're gonna, like, not try, but I don't think they're gonna try as hard, because I think they know it's just too far ahead. Like this year, I've already said Red Bull will win the constructors, and it's literally down to Max and Lewis who's gonna win. Maybe even Perez, if he keeps performing really well, who is going to win the Drivers' Championship. So yeah, I think they're still going to try, but I don't, because they're just focusing on 2022. I feel like this one is literally just like a DOS year for them. Like, you know, like when you're in like year 9, don't really do anything. I think this is their year 9. Like I think this is their DOS year. So So yeah, I think we'll just have to see, but I definitely think that Red Bull will win the constructors.
Same, I think. I feel biased, but I will be rooting for Red Bull. Sorry, Lewis. I just have to. And I think the interesting thing for me is the fact that Red Bull aren't just good on the tracks that we know they're good at. The fact that I'm disappointed Singapore's not going to be on the calendar because Red Bull have notoriously done well there. But then they've gone to tracks that they've traditionally not done so well at and been able to bring it out. And I think Silverstone could be an interesting one because if Max wins on Lewis's home soil, I think that'll maybe rub a bit of salt in the wound. I think this championship ultimately proves that it is consistency is key. I think those two will be, when one's at a DNF, the other's at a DNF or missed out on points, they're going to be neck and neck throughout this whole season. But because Max had that advantage in Monaco, it just extended that gap. And I think Lewis needs to win at Silverstone, needs a good run at Hungary. If he can win at Belgium and kind of maybe put a bit of a damper on Max's second home race. I love how he's got like 3 at this point.
I know.
And then obviously Zandvoort a couple weeks after, I think it's going to prove to be that long slog between the two of them. But I'm going to go, final question is, who do you think will win the title, either Lewis or Max, and when do you think they'll win it?
Okay, well, I know who I want to say in my head because I know who is actually going to win it, and it's going to be Max. But I am going to stick with my man Lewis, and just hopefully, like you said, he pulls it out the bag and Merc give him a tiny bit of an upgrade. That's all I'm asking, just a tiny little upgrade, please. But yeah, I'm going to say Lewis, and I think, oh god, I don't even know what the last race of the season are. I think by like mid-November we will see who has won. I think if Max carries on scoring way more points than Lewis, it may be earlier than that, but I'm going to say mid-November, and I'm going to say Lewis.
Oh. So you're going probably around Brazil or Australia if either of them happen. I think that'll be... I'm curious to see which races happen because I think that will definitely influence the championship. Obviously, having Turkey being added to the calendar. I think I'm going to have to go Max. I think I just cannot see him not winning it now. I think he's just so confident in himself. And I think Red Bull, when they're confident, as long as they don't get too cocky, I think they've learned their lesson from previous years, is they can't be cocky. They know that Hamilton could snatch it back at any moment. He's not won 7 world titles for nothing. I think if they get Perez up there as well, I think their time now needs to be spent getting Perez to where he needs to be. Not that he's a bad driver, but he's just having unfortunate luck. I don't know how many mirrors he cracked or black cats he saw, but he's not having the best run of things. And I think I'm going to go Saudi Arabia, mainly because of that go ahead street circuit. And I think Max does suit a street circuit. The Red Bull cars tend to be quite racy on street circuits. Obviously, look at Monaco, for example, and normally in Singapore. I think that'll maybe be... I think by that point, if Max has got the lead, highly unlikely that they'll be able to claw it back on the final race in Abu Dhabi. And it'll be interesting because Saudi Arabia could be the championship decider, and it'll be interesting being in a new race, but it just kind of proves that Abu Dhabi might be a bit of a drop to the end of the season. But I think, yeah, we've got an exciting championship battle on our hands, and you'll be happy to know, Charlotte, Mercedes are bringing an update to Silverstone. I think. Yes. I'm pretty sure they've got one planned update for Silverstone. So we'll be keeping our fingers crossed for a dynamic championship battle, and hopefully it goes all the way down to the wire. But it's been an absolute pleasure getting to chat to you today. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Charlotte.
And this has been the Purple Sector. Au revoir.
Bye.